Before Eden bloomed, before the first breath of Adam, before light itself was spoken into existence, there was judgment. Not peace, not harmony. Judgment. You're about to hear a story that was never preached, never written in the common scrolls. A story whispered among ancient prophets and feared even by angels. This is the account of a being who moved before creation, an angel whose presence brought terror in the highest realms. And if even Lucifer trembled before him, ask yourself, what was this angel truly sent to do? If what you're about to hear shakes your understanding of Genesis, stay with us until the end. And tell me in the comments, have you ever heard about this angel before? Or is this your first time facing this hidden side of heaven? I read every comment. While you're here, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn on the bell. And if you feel led, become a member to help us keep revealing what few dare to speak. Just click join below. Let's uncover the truth. Together, we've been told that death entered the world because of sin, that it came after Adam and Eve disobeyed in the garden. But what if that's not the whole truth? What if there was already death in heaven? What if the first act of divine judgment didn't fall on humans, but on celestial beings long before us? That's when this angel appeared, not to warn, not to guide, but to execute. His name isn't spoken in many churches. Some say even Michael lowered his gaze in his presence. Ancient texts hint at beings who rebelled before the earth was formed. Ezekiel and Job speak of angels in places of fire and shadow. Some apocryphal scrolls even describe a cleansing, a purging of corrupted hosts that occurred in a time before time. And in the center of it all was one who didn't rebel, but obeyed, a heavenly warrior created not for music, not for worship, not for light, but for judgment, a divine executor. And when God called him, creation stood still. They say Lucifer was once the most beautiful of them all, radiant, wise, clothed in light. But even he, before his pride, before his fall, feared one figure, not out of reverence, but out of dread. Because this angel wasn't interested in rank or glory, he had one mission: carry out God's sentence without hesitation. And when his wings unfolded, even the stars seemed to dim. What kind of angel brings fear to the very throne room of heaven? The scriptures speak of Michael as the commander of heavenly armies and Gabriel as the messenger of divine revelation. But this angel, this unnamed force, was neither commander nor messenger. He was the sword, a silent executor of divine justice. His presence meant that mercy had run its course. He appeared only when God's patience ended and judgment had to fall. Not even the seraphim sang when he entered. There was no announcement, just silence and fear. The Book of Enoch, though not included in modern Bibles, offers glimpses into ancient heavenly orders. It describes watchers, punishers, and beings assigned to guard the sacred. Among them is one figure shrouded in terrifying mystery, a destroyer not fallen, but commissioned. His name is never fully revealed, but his acts are. And in those acts, we find bloodless altars, smoking heavens, and voices silenced forever. He was not evil. He was pure obedience. Before Eden, there was chaos. The Spirit of God hovered over the deep. But why was there darkness on the face of the waters? What had already happened in the spiritual realm that left everything empty and void? Some say a rebellion had shaken heaven, not the rebellion of Lucifer, but something older, something that required an angel with no fear, no hesitation, and no remorse. That's when he descended, not with words, but with fire. The early church fathers debated whether angels had free will, or if some were created solely to carry out the harshest decrees. The existence of this angel suggests the latter. He didn't question, he didn't weep, he didn't plead for mercy on behalf of those judged. He was a tool, terrifying and holy, a being forged in the heart of divine justice itself. His appearance marked the end of a chapter, before the first line of Genesis was ever written. Some ancient rabbis spoke of an angel whose arrival meant the heavens themselves would go silent. He didn't speak, he didn't warn, he executed. When he appeared, even the thrones and dominions, the highest orders of angels, fell quiet. It's said that his footsteps scorched the clouds and his wings darkened the skies above, not because he was evil, but because he embodied the side of God we often choose to forget, righteous wrath. A wrath so great, even Lucifer, a being of light, stood frozen in awe. This angel did not descend into Eden. He came before it. When Lucifer first conceived rebellion in his heart before the war in heaven began, this angel was already watching, assigned not to intervene, but to witness, to wait for the command. And when that command came, it wasn't with thunder or trumpet, but with a whisper from the throne. That whisper turned into fire, and fire turned into silence. The rebellion was crushed not with speeches, but with one dissent. Theologians wonder, if God is love, how can judgment be so absolute? The answer lies not in emotion, but in order. God is also holy, his kingdom flawless. Any corruption, celestial or earthly, must be purged. And that's why this angel was made. He wasn't a messenger of doom. He was an answer to imbalance. When the scale tipped too far, he appeared, not out of vengeance, but out of divine necessity. He did not fall. He was sent. There are stories, fragments, visions, hidden scrolls that speak of a moment when Lucifer saw this angel face to face. It wasn't in battle. It wasn't in defiance. It was in hesitation. The bright morning star, full of beauty and ambition, paused. He trembled. Not because he feared punishment, he didn't yet believe he could fall, but because in the eyes of this angel, he saw something else, the end, not of creation, but of himself. Some believe this encounter was the reason Lucifer delayed his rebellion. Not fear of failure, but fear of who would be sent if he succeeded. This angel didn't argue, didn't reason, didn't offer second chances. He represented the part of heaven that did not negotiate. While other angels sang or guarded or announced, he executed. His existence was a warning in itself, a living consequence. To see him was to realize the decision had already been made in the court of heaven. Why isn't this angel mentioned by name in Scripture? Perhaps his name is too holy, or perhaps too terrifying. Some suggest his name was once known, but later removed, out of mercy. Not for him, but for us. Because to know his name would be to awaken an awareness too heavy for the human soul. This is why prophets spoke in veiled words, why apocalyptic visions described beings like fire or clothed in vengeance, yet never gave names. This angel's identity was meant to remain wrapped in shadow. In ancient Hebrew tradition, names held power. To name something was to declare it, to know its essence. But this angel was beyond essence, beyond form. Some said he was like lightning wrapped in skin, a judgment sealed in silence. Others saw him as a wind of death that could take shape when God willed. The only consistent detail was this: wherever he appeared, something holy had been violated, and something final was about to happen. There were no survivors, no miracles, only closure. Some apocryphal writings hint that he was present even before time began, standing near the throne as a still force, not moving, not watching, simply waiting, as if his very existence measured how long mercy would last. When mercy ended, he was the first to rise, before creation, before Eden, before let there be light. He moved in the space where light had not yet broken through. And that's where judgment began, not with Adam, not with sin, but with obedience from him. Many forget that the Bible opens not with peace, but with a void, a darkness covering the face of the deep. What was that darkness? What had stained the cosmos before light was summoned? Some believe it wasn't a passive emptiness, but the aftermath of a heavenly judgment, a celestial battlefield wiped clean, and in the center of that silence stood this angel, not stained by war, but purified by purpose. He did not fight for position or glory. He existed for one reason only: divine balance. As Genesis unfolds, we see order emerge from chaos, light from darkness, water separated from land. But beneath those words lies a question. Why was there chaos to begin with? Could it be that the first act of divine judgment had already passed, silently, perfectly, and without record? That this angel had already moved, carrying out a sentence decreed long before mankind was ever imagined? And that Eden was not the beginning, but the restart? Church tradition often avoids this topic. It's more comforting to imagine heaven as eternally peaceful before the fall. But the very need for Eden's guarded gates, the flaming sword, and the banishment of Adam, these speak of a kingdom familiar with judgment. And who was the one who wielded it first? Not Satan, not demons, but a servant loyal to the end, a being more feared than any rebel, because his fear came not from corruption, but from holiness. Even the book of Revelation hints at such beings, angels with power to pour wrath upon the earth, to darken the sun, to silence heaven for half an hour. These are not metaphorical, they are instruments. And the one who came before them all, the one who brought judgment before the garden bloomed, he is the prototype, the original, the unseen hand of divine finality. And when his wings move, the heavens remember what came before Eden. This angel's presence wasn't like thunder or earthquakes. It was worse. It was stillness, a silence that fell over the heavenly realms like a curtain. The kind of silence that even seraphim dared not interrupt. No trumpet preceded him, no choir followed. He didn't need to announce himself. The air changed when he appeared. The light dimmed, and every living spirit knew the time of warnings was over. The sentence had been passed. He was simply the one who delivered it. Some say he never speaks, that his voice has only been heard once, at the very beginning, and it wasn't in words, but in a sound like the collapse of worlds. Others describe him not as a being of fire or wings, but as something that takes form only when judgment is needed. To the righteous, he never appears, but to the rebellious, whether celestial or human, he comes as the final visitor, the last thing seen before the heavens close. His face is never forgotten nor forgiven. In one ancient text, it is written that during a heavenly gathering, even Michael paused when this angel entered. Michael, the warrior of God, conqueror of the dragon, did not bow, but he did step aside. Because this angel was not a comrade. He was not part of any legion. He was alone, set apart, sacred in a terrifying way. And even the most exalted understood. His mission came directly from the throne, unfiltered, undelayed, unstoppable. Lucifer, at his height, believed he could rise above the stars. He saw himself as a ruler, a being of unmatched splendor. But before he declared his rebellion, he saw this angel once, just once. And in that moment, even his ambition shook. Not because of weakness, but because of instinct. He recognized something ancient in the eyes of the angel. Not rage, not pride, but inevitability. A glimpse of what would await him if he dared to rise. That moment stayed with Lucifer, even as he gathered others to follow him, even as he twisted truth and seduced angels with promises of glory. He never spoke that angel's name. He would boast about many things, his beauty, his rank, his vision of a new order. But when asked about the one who stood beside the throne in silence, he looked away, because deep inside he knew rebellion has a price, and that price had a face carved by divine justice. After Lucifer fell and Eden was formed, the name of that angel faded from common memory. He was not needed in the days of innocence. He did not walk in the garden. He did not speak with Adam. His role had already been fulfilled. But the ground remembered. The skies remembered. And when the serpent spoke to Eve, it is said that the earth itself trembled, not because of the temptation, but because something far more terrifying might return if judgment was triggered again. Some prophets claimed to see glimpses of him in visions. Not clearly, never clearly, but in moments of great terror. When kingdoms fell and fire descended, they sensed a presence that was not demonic, but not comforting either. They spoke of a figure wrapped in black winds, eyes like molten gold, and silence so loud it shook their bones. They would awaken in fear, unable to describe what they saw, only writing, "The Holy One sent him." And still he is not counted among the fallen. He is not bound in chains. He is not waiting for the end. He is part of it. When the final trumpets sound and the heavens are torn open, many look for Michael or Gabriel, but the one who brings the final blow, the absolute closing of time, may be him, the one who brought judgment before Eden, the one who made even Lucifer tremble, the one who does not warn, only finishes. Some theologians suggest that this angel appears only at thresholds, when one era ends and another begins. He doesn't belong to the unfolding of time, but to its conclusion. He is not seen in days of peace, nor heard in songs of worship. He is the silence after the last note, the shadow cast by divine holiness when grace is withheld. If Eden was the beginning of man, then he was the end of something before us, something erased, judged, and buried in heavenly ash. He is not a fallen angel, yet he walks where fallen ones fear to tread. He doesn't tempt, he doesn't accuse, he doesn't defend. He simply appears when the line is crossed, when God's patience reaches its final breath. In this, he reflects a truth many avoid, that heaven is not only full of glory and mercy, but also justice so pure it burns, justice that existed before sin, before mankind, before history. And this angel is the embodiment of that justice. In the great heavenly order, every being has a role. Some worship, some fight, some protect, but this one, he ends. He doesn't arrive to negotiate, he doesn't wait for repentance. He acts after all choices have been made, and in his presence there are no more words. Even Lucifer, once the morning star, once the shining one, knew that if this angel moved again, it would not be with warning, but with finality, with fire, with silence. When the final day arrives and heaven opens for the last time, the world will witness glory, wrath, and the unraveling of time itself. And among all the angels descending, there will be one who does not speak, who does not raise his hands. He simply stands, and judgment follows. He is not feared because he is evil. He is feared because he is pure. And long before Eden bloomed, he had already moved once, and heaven has never forgotten. Some say he still walks unseen, unheard, but always near thresholds of divine judgment, not on earth, but beyond it, watching, waiting, measuring. He doesn't appear to the wicked when they sin, but when their time is up. His presence is not meant to scare, but to remind that God's justice is not asleep, that what began before Eden has not ended, it has only paused, and when it resumes, it will not be with a voice or trumpet, but with his shadow falling across the heavens once more. For every soul that believes only in mercy, there's a truth they must face. Before there was mercy, there was judgment. Before grace was extended, holiness was enforced. And this angel, this terrible, sacred being, is a witness to that. He is not a symbol, he is not a metaphor, he is real, the executioner of a divine sentence spoken in silence, the flame that never flickers, the terror that keeps even fallen angels looking over their shoulder. Lucifer may have declared war, but he never forgot that angel. It was not Michael's sword that haunted him. It was the memory of eyes that did not blink, of wings that did not rush, of footsteps that brought no sound. The one being that didn't plead, didn't hesitate, didn't flinch. The one who, with a single glance, reminded him that rebellion had a cost, and that cost was not defeat. It was judgment, irreversible and eternal. So the question remains, if this angel moved once, before Eden, before man, before light, what would happen if he moved again? What would it mean for our world, our time, our generation? Maybe he's waiting, not in anger, not in haste, but in perfect readiness. Because the God who created Eden is also the God who judged before. It and this angel was his first answer. If this revelation opened your eyes, don't let it stop here. Leave a comment and tell me what struck you the most. I want to know how this truth reached your heart. And if you're not subscribed yet, now is the time. Click subscribe, hit the bell, and help us spread these hidden truths. And if you feel called, join our members area by clicking join below. Your support helps this message reach further. Until the next revelation.